Assalamualaikum, hi and hello everyone. Welcome to our group presentation for subject Philosophy of Communication, PBF 1013, instructed by Dr. Vimala Govindaraju. We are from group 12, are going to present about Aristotle, the Greek ancient philosophers. So our group 12 members are Calvin Donat Rubin, Isaac Tiong Chang Chet, Nur Ain binti Mahmud, and myself, Nur Fadila binti Rahman. We are hoping you enjoy this video, and this video will be informative for all of us. Let me introduce you who is Aristotle. Aristotle is one of the most important Greek philosophers along with Socrates and Plato. Aristotle was born around 384 BCE in Stagira, northern Greece. Aristotle first studied medicine before he going to Athens at age of 17 to study at Plato's Academy. At Plato Academy, he studied mathematics, politics, ethics, and various other of science. Aristotle left Athens around the time 348 or 47 BCE after Plato died. Yes, Aristotle is Plato's student, even though he have a very different point of view.
Hello, welcome to this slide presentation. Slides in this section have been prepared by me, Carvin. In this presentation, I will talk about the nature of philosophy according to Aristotle. But first, what is nature of philosophy? Natural philosophy, or the philosophy of nature, was the philosophical study of nature, and the physical universe was dominant before the development of modern science. It is considered to be the precursor of natural science such as physics. Natural science historically developed out of philosophy, or more specifically, natural philosophy. Now, we move to nature of philosophy according to Aristotle. According to Aristotle, he regarded natural philosophy as a theoretical science. Aristotle devoted most of his life to the natural science, contributing original research to physics, astronomy, chemistry, and zoology. Aristotle expressed an early theological belief in saying that natural things tend to certain goals or ends. Theology is the philosophical belief that there are certain final causes in nature. One of Aristotle's most famous ideas of natural philosophy is his addition of the celestial ether to the four natural elements suggested by Empedocles. The ethers is, according to Aristotle, the greater and lesser lights of heaven. By this, Aristotle meant the stars of the universe which were visible to him in the night sky. The other four natural elements, such as fire, earth, air, and water, are able to change and mix, according to Aristotle. This is an early precursor to modern ideas of phase transition. These elements are capable of generation and destruction, such as opposed to the ether, which is unchanging. Aristotle concludes that these bodies cannot be composed of the four elements because they are not capable of change. Fire, earth, air, and water are terrestrial elements, while ether is a celestial element. The most important point is Aristotle redefined natural element to include only.
Next, I want to talk about the implication of philosophy in communication. First, realism. Aristotle argued that in order to comprehend an entity, it was important to understand its ultimate shape, which does not alter. The realism concept, derived from the real world, finds its roots in the Greek word res meaning object. The goal of education was to prepare the release for full life, trust, belief. Training should provide learners with the experience and skill they have. Realism sees the child as a complex and rising being that is ready to meet life reality. Realism implies methods of instruction that are objective. Observation, experimentation, and practices must be given importance. Next, naturalism. Naturalists see that the universal we exist in is made up of objects and claim that the true world is the material world, the world of nature. In other words, nature is the source of knowledge. The mechanism of human development and growth was the product of the force of energy that exists in nature. The natural endowment of man, including his instincts and emotion, it is the driving force for all his action. Compatibility with hermeneutical understanding can be seen in Aristotle's naturalism. In Aristotle's interpretation of a dialectical versus demonstrative inquiry in science, for instance, this is evident. In education, naturalists see children as a gift of nature, according to the rules of nature with natural development potential. The children is an active person capable of self-development. In natural context, the programmer should offer contract and real experience. A selection of sensory and physical activities should be exposed to the infant. As a result of the effect of children action, discipline is established. Idealism. The human spirit is emphasized by its fundamental point of view as the most essential things of life. Most components of life are the human spirit. The world in its ultimate essence is basically non-material. Idealism is concerned with mind and self-superiority and views man and the world in terms of mind or spirit. The projection of creation of the mind may be meta or objective, but the concept behind is essentially true. Aristotle has effectively Aristotle has effectively reinterpreted Plato's doctrine of the ideas or forms such that they imparted an organization to the matter of the world. Idealism sees students as people with inner promise. Training can allow the learner to understand these possibilities. Idealism emphasizes the child's spiritual grew more. Last, pragmatism. Aristotle foreshadowed pragmatism in contending that the moral standing of the action of an individual and the essence of the selfhood of the person are interdependent, and it emphasizing the main role of habit in character formation. A midway between idealism and naturalism is adopted by pragmatism. Pragmatism is otherwise known as instrumentalism or functionalism. Pragmatism considers the learner ready to adapt the environmental demands and as rising biological and social. It should also attempt to build skill in the infant. It should also attempt skill to build in infant, and the curriculum should cultivate an investigative mindset, encourage creative expression, foster constructiveness, and retain the child interest. Pragmatic instructor allows the teacher to inspire the learner by active engagement with the learner situation.
Hello everyone, my name is Nur Ain and I will talk about the application of the philosophy. Aristotle's rhetoric had an enormous influence on the development of the art of rhetoric in practical philosophy. Rhetoric was described as art in persuasions or motivate particular audience in specific communication where the main forms that being used was ethos, logos, and pathos. In the past, this rhetoric was used in politics as in art of persuasion. Russell Amos Kate was one of the corpus of historically minded and became the 20th century leader among conservatives. Prompts wants to reflect upon a realist rhetoric for order of discourse conservative in public argumentation. Obviously, he using rhetoric to gain support from people. This shows that rhetoric is still relevant to use until now because the need of the art persuasion need rhetorical perspective in communication to persuade others in a convincing way using the art of rhetoric. As time goes by, this way of persuasion will become more flexible in way of people develop it. For example, nowadays, most politicians will now use rhetoric in the preparation of election in order to gain more votes from citizens and win the election. In order to evoke emotional responses in the audience, political speech often use rhetoric. Next, Aristotle was a Greek philosopher who also gave attribute to the psychological study of happiness. Aristotle, in his Nicomachean Ethics, takes as a starting point that humans want the best possible life and uses the term eudaimonia to refer to the type of life one thinks best, or most worthwhile, or most desirable. As a normal human being, to be happy is needed as we continue our long life. But to achieve a daimonia in life was hard, as people nowadays seem living in stressful era where the depression was one of the silent killer in someone's life. However, the psychiatrists nowadays use this term as inverse correlation for treating depression patient. The term eudaimonia scientifically recognized recently and has been used in psychological literature. This term generally used to apply in investigating the global function of individual according to optimal or positive traits in person. Furthermore, Aristotle, who known as Plato's student for about 20 years, even though Plato was Aristotle's first teacher, but Aristotle also king of rejection of Plato's theory. There was where the starting point of rejection started with Aristotle's metaphysics into Plato's theory of form. The simple way to understand metaphysics is the nature of reality. It is also the study of being and knowing. The three main of metaphysics was ontology, religious, and physical metaphysics. The ontology described as unpredictable. It is when what a human's planet is used to lean back to nature. To define reality of the study of the nature in broad concept of uses include the study of the nature of the human mind, the definition and meaning of existence or the nature of space. For example, the weather forecast where you cannot control the nature even if you already have planned for that day, but when the forecast said there will be a thunderstorm, then you need to cancel your plan according to the nature. The ontology and analogy obviously two things that had the biggest gap according to its term. However, the ontology and analogy still being used until now and still being developed according to the era of technology.
Alright, let us move to the conclusion. As a conclusion, in the study of nature, Aristotle had a lifelong interest. We cannot deny that Aristotle was was one of the great thinkers all of time. Other than that, Aristotle also created a term of happiness in human life. He called it eudaimonia. As a human, we do want a happy life, and sometimes we lost on how to be happy because of the problems that come to our life. So we move to the metaphysics studies. There are three core of metaphysics, which is ontology, religious, and physical metaphysics. Aristotle called metaphysics as first philosophy. It is a term to define reality of the study, the nature. So, as a conclusion, we can say that philosophy is not just a view from someone or personal opinion, but those research, it helps us in life to understand more the aspect we overlook based on the research that has been done by the philosopher. His studies in philosophy help us much in our life, especially in communication. This philosophy that has been successful from and created by Aristotle, including the realism, naturalism, idealism, and pragmatism. In practicing the philosophy, Aristotle's rhetoric had a great impact on the growth of the art of rhetoric. In particular communication, rhetoric are presented as art to persuade, to help the speakers to attract the audience to hear and understand the information that we are giving to the audience. And ethos, logos, and pathos were the key that used in rhetoric. That's all from us. Group 12, thank you for listening. Thank you for the attention, and hoping this video is informative for all of us. Thank you.